What's happening, everyone, and welcome back to the Pathways to Success. Very excited about the guest I have on the show today, and it is Josh Kemp, who's going to be teaching us the art of the side hustle. Josh, welcome to the podcast, man. How are you?
Julian, thanks for having me, man. I'm so excited.
Yeah. I got to ask, man, how are you adjusting amidst of all that is right now?
Hey, this is the thing about side hustles. This is when people are going to make things happen, or they're going to curl up in a ball and hope that, eventually it passes. Thankfully, I have many side hustles, and one of mine is still going strong. My water fountain installation business is an outdoor business. And thankfully, I mainly work for doctors, lawyers, CEOs. They're still spending money. They aren't coming outside to talk to me. They're leaving a check out front, but it's still doing well. And I'm so glad that I still have that business opportunity.
Yeah, I love it. And when you first reached out to me, knowing this specialty that you have, it was near and dear to me because I started this podcast as a side hustle. I was working a full-time corporate job, started the podcast. That led to all these different kinds of things, which ultimately set me on the path of being a full-time entrepreneur. But you had a very special expertise when it comes to teaching others how to do the same. So first off, I guess, tell us a little bit about the story. How did you first get into side hustling?
Yeah. So it's and this is I hope to always encourage people that you don't have to be rocket science. You don't have to be Elon Musk. Literally, how do you make your first dollar? Start from there. But for me, it was just like this kind of thing where it was a moment of desperation where people lost their job. It was 2008, 2009. My wife had our child. She had a terrible, difficult pregnancy, lost a ton of blood. I had to take off a lot of time from work. My clients kind of used that as an excuse, long-term clients, to fire me as I stayed home and I said I couldn't make appointments. So basically I lost a ton of money in 1 month, and I think I had $540 in my bank account. And I said, oh crap, I'm not sure if that's enough to make it to my next work. Huh. And thankfully you have all these times where you'll take a moment and you go, oh, I remember this a long time ago. And you kind of link information together. At least that's how I work. So I remember a long time ago, I was a teenager, and there had been a snowstorm, and I think I'd been on Craigslist, and I saw some dude selling an old snowblower for like $1,200. And I remember thinking, holy crap, how is he selling this old piece of crap? But what I realized was there was companies who had contracts or could get contracts to do snow removal who needed anything and besides a shovel. And I just remember thinking that. So years later, I lost all this work. I see on the news, I'm like, am I going to make it? I don't know. I don't want to stress my wife out, but I'm like freaking out. And I'm sure people right now are absolutely in the same boat where they're like, what the hey am I supposed to do? So I saw the news, and this is Virginia, Northern Virginia. We don't get a lot of snow typically. And I saw it said 16 to 24 inches. And I was like, whoa, that's a lot of snow. This doesn't happen but once every, many years. And I thought to myself, it's coming tomorrow. And it already started, but the main was coming tomorrow. And I said, okay, I'm going to call, see if I can find a snowblower. So I called around, and everybody laughed at me and was like, oh my gosh, dude, you're not going to get a snowblower. The friggin', everybody's got the snowblowers. So I called North Carolina. I called South Carolina, and they laughed at me and said, dude, we don't even ever have snowblowers. So I went up the other side of the East Coast. I called Maryland. I called DC. I called Pennsylvania. And I found one snowblower left in a Home Depot in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And they said, yeah, you can get it. If you pay for it right now, we'll hold it because people want this thing. I said, yes. I pulled out my card. I think it was like $4.99, $500. So I literally had like $40. And I told my wife, I said, hey, I told her my idea, and I'm going up to Pennsylvania in the snow, and I'm going to go get it. And she was like, you're an idiot. Basically, you're an idiot. We'll skip anything else we said. But so long story short, I went up there. She decided to come with me with our child. Terrible decision on my part. I got the snowblower. I got some food at Wendy's through a drive-through. I was feeling good about my life. I'm like, yes, I'm going to resell this thing. I'm going to double my money, be okay. And I don't know what happened, but the second I got my food, it was like the skies opened, like unbelievable. So I'm driving back Pennsylvania. It's like 10 o'clock at night, which is stupid because that's colder. And I start, getting stuck. I have to get out of the car, it's an old van. I had to push this van. It's basically bald tires, run up and jump back in the car, somehow make it back to Virginia I think it was the good Lord, you know, like somehow I made it because I shouldn't have made it. And the snow was like knee high. And, you know, to me, I accomplished my mission. I did end up selling that snowblower. I had some people come out that almost robbed me. So it turned out to be, oh my gosh, now the snow's melting. I'm trying to double my money. I ended up making like $750, $800. So I ended up making like $300, which is not much. But for me at the time where I didn't think I had enough to pay our bills, it worked. So that was some regards, it was my first like, oh my gosh, I need to do something. But it was so gnarly. Like it was so terribly done.
Yeah.
But that was my first like attempt. And I guarantee there's people right now who are like, okay, I can turn down my thermostat. I can eat less. I can do intermittent fasting because I have to.
Mm-hmm.
But at a certain point you say, how do I get the next dollar? Am I going to wait on this stimulus? Am I going to wait on X? And for me, it worked. Thankfully, I've gotten a whole lot better since that time. But that was the first kind of step into doing a side hustle.
I love it. How many side hustles would you say have been quote unquote, let's just say profitable?
Yeah. So I don't, some things, we all suck at some things. We're all good at some things. So one thing I'm good at apparently is side hustles. Every one of my side hustles has made me money. Now, with that said, some I'm like, oh crap, this was stupid. I'm stopping. So for example, when I was a farrier, blacksmith, shoeing horses for a living, I know, right? Horse shoeing. It's like, so when I was doing that, I did it for 7.5 years till I got injured. I realized that most people in that industry would look at the horse's foot, like with a microscope, and they'd be like, oh, this is what's wrong. Versus they wouldn't look at the whole horse as a big picture. They wouldn't look holistically. And I met some chiropractors of horses and some massage therapists of horses, and I just would talk to them at barns. And they were like talking about the muscling, the structure, and I'm like, who cares? Just shoe the foot and the hoof. And I went to this training. I got certified as an equine sports massage therapist. And then for some reason I thought, hey, I'm going to do canines. I'm going to do some equine chiropractic and go to a school for that. And I did go to the sports massage, and I ended up getting paid by one old lady $80 to massage her like 13-year-old dog, because a veterinarian had told her that, no, Josh is really good with animals. So I did that. I got paid my money. I walked out. I called my wife and said, you know what? I'm never doing that again. I made money, but that was just weird. Like it just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
So all mine, I've made money 22 different ways. I would say 10 have been solid side hustles that people would say, oh, I wish I could do that. But like that was just kind of let me go learn some anatomy. Let's pass some tests. Let's get certified. Let's put out some cards. Oh, it worked. But I stopped shortly after that.
Yeah. Here's why I love this idea of a side hustle, because when you look at entrepreneurs in the media, a lot of times it's sort of sensationalized and people think they have to quit their job, they have to raise VC funding or whatnot. So not a lot of people know that I have been entrepreneurial for 10 years before I left my corporate job and was able to pull it off, right? It's because I was side hustling. I was practicing entrepreneurship. And the reason why I asked like the profitability of your side hustle is because I believe whenever you exchange a monetary value, it's because you're providing a commensurate service. You're solving a problem, right? And you've done it now 22 times. From shoeing the horses to the snow blowing thing, it's like you have been able to create that success in different lanes. And because of that, I believe you now have a methodology to turn an idea into a profitable side hustle. So let's jump into that, okay? So again, how I've rededicated the podcast was to inspire the entrepreneurial spirit in the country, because now more than ever do we need to diversify our income, learn to solve problems, really learn how to survive in the midst of all this uncertainty. So where do you start? What's step one of developing a side hustle?
Right. Thankfully, it's pretty easy. Like it's easy. If you remember, you have to take action. There's so many people who have a half-written book on their computer. Like one day 80% of people say they're going to write a book. It's like, but are you really? So the first thing is you got to find an opportunity. So like when the economy is great, like say a month ago or 2 months ago, there's so much work. Companies are like, I can't get people. Now things are switching the other way. Well, when the economy is flourishing, I tell people, hey, do something you enjoy, find your passion. And I still believe that. But right now, if you're desperate for money, yeah, if you have $1 million, cool, take your time, do whatever. But if you need money, you are worried, or you're smart enough to say, you know what, things are about to hit the fan. I need to think ahead of time. You first need to find your opportunity. Okay. What I do is, I generally lean towards service-based businesses because once you get one client, you can go on some type of rotation to go back. So like horseshoeing, you generally trim and nail on new shoes every 4 to 6 weeks. So, you get 100 horses, 200 horses, you're pretty set to go. So with like lawn mowing, that might be seasonal, but things like that. So I generally look for a service-based business. And I also know this to be true. Even in 08, 09, when the market crashed, there's like, when the county I was in Virginia, I think Prince William County, 1 in 4 houses had foreclosed because people couldn't afford their loans and houses were in the bad times. It was really bad. But during that time, one of my clients was a super wealthy millionaire, and he was selling homes. His homes in California that he owned. And I said to him, how are you selling homes when everybody's freaking like lost their home? And he's like, Josh, the super wealthy people always have money. It doesn't matter if you have, $100 million, it doesn't matter, it doesn't affect them. They're not the ones losing their homes right now. It's the people who, both have to work to provide for their mortgage. Those people are screwed. So that stuck with me. So right now, like last week, I installed a fountain for the CEO of Golden Corral. Well, Golden Corral, yeah, and I didn't know that, but Golden Corral is shut down.
Yeah.
But the guy, super nice guy. But the point is, like, he does have money, and he's not going to be like, oh, I can't afford $1,000 or whatever the fee is. He can afford it. So to me, I take 2 things when looking for an opportunity. What can I do and repeat it so I don't have to keep looking for new work? And I know in my mind that the wealthy, rich people, whether you hate them or love them, they will always have money. And don't like, I want to help poor people, don't get me wrong. But if you go and like go to a homeless person, you try to find out how to make money. Well, even if you add value, they don't have, it's like an empty cup. They don't have anything. They don't have any money to give you. Mm-hmm. So be honest with yourself and say, okay, what's something I can do? Like right now, if I'm starting from zero, I have nothing. Okay. I'm looking for outdoor things to do, landscaping, mulching, gutter cleaning. I'm not looking at interior design. I'm looking at a side hustle that's outside and that I can do repeatably. So,
wow,
that's the first step. Yeah,
I love that you're sort of kind of almost like pre-qualifying your market, right?
Right.
So help us do this then. Right now, amidst of what you see, what are some of the problems you think there are opportunities to solve via a side hustle?
Yeah, so I'm very strategic. I start with the end in mind, and I don't want people think like, oh, this guy's lucky. No. I want people to realize I was very desperate. So for example, when I was horseshoeing and I got kicked in the face, I broke my hand, and I had my second child, I said, you know what? I no longer feel invincible. I need to get out of this industry. And I thought, well, what do I have that can market to 2020, or at the time it was 2012? I'm like, man, I would have been an awesome person in 1865 during the Civil War because I can shoe horses. But not many people in high-rise buildings are like, yes, come, you have all these skills. So in that desperation, I tried a bunch of things. I listened to bad advice. One guy was like, hey, go become a security officer, an armed security officer, get some security clearance if you can, and then you can get into companies. Well, where I lived in Virginia, it turns out I did do all that. I got security officer training. I got shotgun trained, 9mm trained. And then I learned 2 things. I didn't look for the job first. I didn't start with the end in mind. I said, oh, I'll get all this training. I'll spend all this money. And then I go to get a job. I'm like, okay, I'm ready. I got all this stuff. And the jobs were basically jobs that didn't require any type of handguns that paid like $10 an hour. Mm-hmm. Or you could go way up to Washington, D.C. at night, which was super far, tons of traffic. And you make $25 a night, but the real security clearance jobs, you don't just get starting off. So I realized, oh crap, I should have started with the end in mind. So in this case, all right, what if I'm in this market, I say, okay, the indoors of everyone's home is virtually off limits. Okay, fine. All right, well, that's off limits. I gotta do something outside. Okay, people with a bunch of money will have some money to spend, because I know this for a fact. Yesterday, I fixed a lady's fountain. She's a doctor. Her husband is also a doctor. they were worried about like, don't get germs. So they left the check under their front door mat, but they were not worried about the cost. They did not even ask what the cost was. So if I was somebody looking for an outdoor side hustle right now, I would look in your area for the highest income, wealthiest zip code. And that's where I would start. Now, there's a bunch of, well, we're gonna get into marketing, but like, that's what I'd first do is like, don't take too much risk. Do something simple. So for me, I would probably do something. I have water fountain installations and I've done that for 5 years. But if I didn't have that, I would drive down and look for like someone's gutter that looks like crap. I would either borrow a ladder or I wouldn't have a ladder. I would go try to get a couple people to say, yeah, you can come clean this out. And I'd say, pay me what you want. Like I would just try to get some work, right? And then if I got my first job, I would then go, okay, I'm gonna get $50 from this. Let me see what type of ladder I can buy for $50. You limit your risk, because if you're down to no money, don't do this like VC type of thing. Don't do this risking money. Do it the lowest risk possible. Where literally, when I got my first water fountain job, I didn't have a big dolly to carry the fountains on. When I got my first job, I told her the price. She said it's $150. I said, okay, I have $150 now. Oh, I can buy a dolly at Tractor Supply. That's $80. I can buy a pipe cutter. And I figured out what I could buy and I made it work. And I suggest the same for everyone else right now.
So find an opportunity. Don't take too much risk. Service-based businesses are typically a good way to immediately turn kind of a service into revenue, right? How do you know what to price your service?
Well, I think it comes down to a couple things. How desperate are you? I mean, honestly, how,
Yeah.
like, how, like I know an artist who is homeless, completely homeless, and he's kind of homeless out of pride. Like he has a grandma that'll help him, but he's like, no, I'm going to make it on my own. Well, the man is terrible at marketing. So I have stopped by, bought his art and tried to help him many times. So for him, his price point may be a whole lot different than somebody who's living in a, 10,000 square foot home and that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But depends how much you have and if you're going to lose your job. But I would look for the wealthiest first as far as like zip codes and knowing they can afford more. Like, for example, let me give you a true example that I did exactly this 2009.
Mm-hmm.
Right after I did the snowblower, I get the snowblower, I list it on Craigslist. I'm waiting for calls. I'm like, you know what? Forget this. I'm going to go make some money while I'm waiting. I have my smartphone. So I got up early, like I think it was 2 days later, the next day. I went into a local city, high income area, and I started knocking on doors. And I said, hey, can I shovel your snow? And they look at me and they're thinking like, okay. And they're like, how much is it? I said, I don't know. How much would you pay? He's like, pause. Looks around at the snow, looks down. Are you going to do the sidewalk and the driveway? I'm like, sure. I'm like, what do you want? I'll do whatever. And I think she's like, we brush off the car. I'm like, sure, I got a brush. So then she was like, $20. I was like, cool, took it. So then the next stop, the next house, I asked the same thing. That person said like 25, whatever. So then after that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna try 25. 30. So to me, it's old school. Like, I would take the first one. What will you pay me? And instead of like, hey, I'll do it for $200. And the person's like, oh, I would have paid him 125, but he priced himself out. If you're starting off a business in a great economy, yes, do all the, I'm not going to take clients that pay less than this, but right now, because also, I think it's like California. I saw the numbers the other day. There was like 3.2 million unemployment claims. Know that we had historically low claims a month ago. Now we have record highs. So all those people, like for example, I don't know this, but let's think of a buffet, okay? Restaurant. If you're a dishwasher at a restaurant, Western Sizzler, whatever. Say you show up late and they fire you. Like, dude, you suck. Get out of here. You're like, big whoop. I'm going to go over to freaking, Ruby Tuesdays and wash their dishes. And you get another job. Well, right now, those people that normally live hour to hour tips or day-to-day paychecks, week to week, they're already in a bad spot because they probably don't have a lot of savings. They're already looking for opportunities and getting desperate. So if you're not there yet, know they're competing against you, right? And this is the trickiest part about our current situation is the fear, and whether you agree or disagree, the fear that you can't go in someone's home. That limits what you can do. It's virtually outdoor things. You can clean cars. You can power wash. Like I have a power washer. I could go and look for dirty your driveways. Like, yo, what would you pay me to power wash this? They're paying for the water. I'm just bringing the power washer. So literally anything is better than nothing. And once you get someone's trust, this is what happens. When you get, for example, I install a water fountain for two doctors, right? And I'm very polite. I'm nice. I have good people skills, which, you know, those things all help me, and people should work on those things, right? They're like, hey, do you do any landscaping? And I'm like, no, I don't. I know a guy, I can give you his number. But if I was desperate, I'd like, absolutely. What do you need done? So I would start with that for pricing. Ask them, the first one or two people, see what you get. And then if you're like, crap, this is way too low, go higher. If it's more than you thought, stay at that price.
I love it. You know, I interviewed Phil Romano on the podcast. He's a legendary restaurateur. He invented Macaroni Grill, Eatsy's, Fuddruckers, right? And he says, whatever he creates a new concept, he allows the market to set the value. And that's what you're doing, right? You're basically saying, what will you pay for this service? And then you started to see kind of averages, which became your market rate, right?
Right.
This guy paid me to do this amount of money. Why won't you do it? That kind of thing, right? I love it. I love it. I feel like we're going through, I'm sorry, you were going to say something?
Well, so what it also helps me do, at least back then, was I have confidence then at the next house to say, either how much is it? $25. Mm-hmm. You're not like, it's $20, $22. You're not like that. You're like, dude, it's $25. It's a great deal. And then it's like, get more, you don't feel like you're like this. I don't know. You take pride in your work. And you're like, hey, it's a great deal. I know it was a great deal because I've done 2 other jobs. You know, people in this state need something to do. And I don't ever look down on like $25 jobs. You know, if you need groceries, $100 is better than no dollars. That's how I view it.
Yeah. I feel like we should go bring up the graphic. We're walking down the steps right now, and this is the first time I'm actually doing this through Zoom, but let's do the screen share here. Let's share my screen. Can you see my screen right now, Josh?
Yeah, I do. Nice.
Okay, perfect. Okay, awesome, cool. So we started with find an opportunity, don't take too much risk. And right here, I think this is sort of product validation. Will it work? Is that right?
Right.
So walk us through that step.
Yeah. So it kind of blends into step 2, where it's like, don't take too much risk. And people that are new to this are like, well, I need to buy things. And it's usually like, what should I spend money on? And this is where it's like, dude, don't buy the ladder till you need it. So will it work is, I generally always do this. I go out and say, yes, it's like software companies. They're like, the clients say, oh, we need this to sell this product. And they're like, oh, we're working on it. Oh, really? You have that product? Yeah, it's going to be ready in 6 months. Because they're like, they go back to the office and like, dude, we need to make this product like now. So, hey, I've got this, we'll use example of gutter cleaning. Yeah, will it work? I couldn't get a single client. No one would pay me for gutter cleaning. Okay, I'm not buying that ladder. So if you can't get a single dollar for something, that's kind of like, will it scale? Like, you need to get that first client before you start worrying about like, in this side hustle where it's a very small type of thing. But if you're talking even like hiring people, like I have 4 guys I'll have them help me do water fountain installations, depending on their availability, depending on the job, things like that. Well, before ever getting to those, having 4 guys that I can call and get them to help me out, I first got my first job. I went to Tractor Supply and said, okay, how much does this fountain weigh? How much are these dollies? How much money do I have? How much weight do they carry? So with will it work kind of blends the 2 together and says, let me, like, for example, here's one that I think, like, for example, here's a real thing I'm going to start facing. Okay. And again, I'm not trying to get people upset about should you or should you not do something, but the black market's a real thing. All right. Mm-hmm. Two things. All right. But these are real things, and then people can either hate me or love me, but this is really what I do. All right. North Carolina is one of only 5 states that has made it's illegal to purchase raw milk from a cow. Now, for hundreds of years, people have drinking raw milk from cows, but in the last 50, it's like you shouldn't do it. It's not safe. You know, whatever the thing. Mm-hmm. Well, every state except for these 5, North Carolina being one, says it's illegal. So how do you get raw milk if you believe it's awesome and you feel amazing once you have it and you have tons of energy, which I do. I feel amazing when I have it. And this is all hypothetical, so you can't get me in trouble. No, so what you do is they put on things on their milk that says, you know, not allowed for human consumption, and people will sell you it. You meet them somewhere and you say, yes, I'm buying this raw milk. it's for my goldfish. And they're like, oh, well, you can buy it for pets. You're just not allowed to have it for humans. I'm like, no, I would never drink raw milk, but my goldfish loves this stuff. So like you get around the rule, and you're allowed to do that. Like they know everyone does that, but it limits how many people do it. So for me, I drink raw milk. People are like, oh my gosh, that's horrible. Whatever it is, there's a black market, if you will. You can't put Facebook ads selling raw milk, but you can get it. So let's take that a step further. Okay. Everyone right now has a problem. Well, I'd say most people, unless you're bald, your hair is growing. And there's people who have barbershops who are making nothing right now, right? They're making nothing. And they have a skill. And they have people who want their freaking haircut. And like my kids look like shaggy sheep right now because they were supposed to get a haircut like a week ago.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, and I'm not telling you anything, you know, however you live your life is your thing. But again, don't take too much risk. Will it work? I remember as a kid, I was homeschooled. So homeschool families are crazy and weird. They're huge. We had 7 kids. Every family we knew had like 6 or 9 kids. Well, there's this one lady at our church. She charged like $5 a head. And she'd get these little homeschoolers would come to her house. She'd cut everyone's hair and the parents were thrilled. She had tons of work. She took only cash. So I'm not telling you to cut hair, but I bet you there's people right now who are cutting hair. They might be wearing a mask, a full bodysuit. I don't know what they're doing. They might be cutting hair outside.
Yeah.
But will it work? That would work if you know how to cut hair. And if you had the guts to kind of like mention to your friends and family, you do that. I'm not suggesting that. But for me, it's all about, can you get someone to pay you to cut your hair? Can you get someone to give you $1 to clean their gutter? Can you get someone to sell you raw milk? You have to get that first dollar before you even stress about customers, all these other things. Get your first one old school before you worry about, can I scale it? How much can I make from it?
Yeah. I love it. You know, Cuban often says, you just have to be right once for people to call you a genius. Well, honestly, I never knew what that meant until I was right that one time, because that becomes sort of a testimonial, a use case that you can sort of build off of. I feel like that's something similar to what you're discussing. So will it work? Talk to us now about marketing. How do you get the word out about your side hustle? What have you seen that works?
Right. So this is the thing that I used to hate and say like, oh, marketing, that's for somebody else, or, oh, I don't need that. But what I've realized is, let's take my job right now. Okay. I was a blacksmith. I learned enough coding through trial and error, lots of errors, staying up at night from 10 o'clock at night when my wife went to bed, my kids were in bed, till 1 a.m, coding, and then falling asleep on the couch. And my wife, like at 2 a.m, she's like, dude, go to bed. Like, great hustle, great drive. But I found out is that's not my long suit. That's not something that naturally comes to me. I do it. And a lot of things we can do. Okay. But with that, I realized something. I have good people skills, and not to brag. Again, I suck at a lot of things. Coding. People skills are great. A lot of coders out there. They got 3 years of computer science. Now they're working at Chipotle, whatever. They're great at coding. They might have the people skills of like, a porcupine. Like they need that. And then I went out and spoke at meetup groups, and I talked to people, and they're like, dude, you should come to our company. I'm like, dude, I'm not very good. They're like, just come. And it was kind of informal interviews and coffee, like get togethers, like, oh, come to our little thing. And I got hired, and I made $70,000 coming from a blacksmith, 1865, 9 months and 2 days previously, to jumping into 2013 making 70,000. So using that same idea, I crushed it with marketing, but I didn't have that great of a product. I wasn't that good at coding. I was okay. I was really just okay. Yeah. So now I still have a software job. I do testing and I write code, but I've realized that it's not my love, and I don't find energy. I like it as like a part-time thing, not a full-time thing. So with marketing, you absolutely need it. It's the number one thing. And I used to discount it all the time. I used to discount my people skills. I'm like, oh, that's not a real skill. If you're good at math, that's a real skill. Okay, so here's the deal. You've got this idea. You haven't taken a risk. You've got your first client. How do you get more? You're like, Josh, I have enough to get milk now. I have enough to pay my bills for this month. Okay, cool. Here's how you get more. Don't spend anything, especially if your money's tight. Spend nothing right now, okay? Here's what you do.
Yeah.
It's like the doctors I was doing their fountain the other day. Now that they trust me, I fixed their problem, which is their fountain. It looks great. They're like, dude, it's never looked that good in our entire life. We've had this thing 10 years. Well, because of that, they trust me. And they're like, hey, will you do landscaping? I don't know landscaping. So the first thing, you have to be able to trust you. So when you do marketing though, if you get like say your first gutter cleaning, then you could ask them if they trust you, if you have good people skills. Do you know anybody else? Cool. But that's going to probably fizzle out at some point. Yeah. Okay. So here's what you do if you have no contacts of any kind. Go to Facebook Marketplace, completely free. Be extremely careful because these type of jobs are outside jobs. These are not inside fancy jobs. Like one thing I want to do one day, I want to paint murals on walls. I love drawing. Well, I'm not marketing murals on walls right now. So that's not the time. So right now, outdoor things, people find those on Facebook Marketplace. And the only thing you gotta be careful with Facebook Marketplace is they're very strict. If you try to like repost too soon, like I think it's once every 7 days or 5 days, they'll knock your whole listing off. I've had it happen twice because I tried to cheat. Craigslist, you can kind of get away with it a little bit sometimes if you don't do it too often. Facebook, they're like, whack. So then you lose a whole week's worth of marketing. So be very careful of that. The best one though that no one is talking about for small businesses like this that are outside is Nextdoor. And this comes back to trust. Okay. I'm sure most people know of Nextdoor, but if they don't, it's, you have to live in the neighborhood. Again, I've tried to hack it. I said, oh, Nextdoor. Well, because I was like, I need to get more work on, I can't remember what I was doing at the time. Oh, I was doing piano tuning. I said, how can I target these wealthy areas? Because I live in a nice neighborhood, but I don't live in a nice neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So when you go on Nextdoor, people trust you because you can only get in on Nextdoor if you live in the neighborhood. Well, Bob lives right across the street. He's not going to screw me. He's going to do the right thing. So on there, they have a for sale section. You put the same ad you're putting on Facebook Marketplace. It's free. And this isn't really tapped into that much. Like Facebook Marketplace, everyone gets on it. Craigslist, everyone's on it. There's a lot of scammers on Craigslist. Mm-hmm. Nobody have I ever met is scamming you on Nextdoor. Wow. And the trust level, and the trust level is like, I swear it's 3 times higher. People, like if you're on Craigslist, people are like, let me see like referrals, testimonials. Facebook, they might be like, oh, I see your website. You're smiling. Okay, give you a shot. Nextdoor, they're like, when can you come over and I'm going to make you some, a chicken salad sandwich. Like the trust level is like way high. So get on Nextdoor, get on Facebook Marketplace. And here's the secret with Nextdoor. I'll tell you what you're going to find is Nextdoor gives you the most work. There's a setting where you can say, hey, put this ad, it's a free ad, not just my local little community, put it to as far as it'll go. It'll go like 5 communities. What you'll realize is, oh man, I'm getting so much work. If I could just get in a whole nother community, I could crush it. Wow. But again, you have to live in it. Well, then you think to yourself, hey, where does Julian live? Julian, do you live like a county over? And you say, hey, Julian, do you have Nextdoor? And he's like, no, I don't use Nextdoor. This is my brother. He lived in a different area of town. I'm like, dude, do you have Nextdoor? He's like, what's Nextdoor? Hey, can I sign up with your email? And can you send me that code they send you? And can I get your account? He doesn't care. You put the same ad there. Now you have double. And again, no one really cares if you live next to them. They just want you to come do the work. No one has ever gone, wait, what's your exact address? It's on there. They can look at it if they want. But between those 2 things, those alone, you get a ton of work. I mean, there's many more marketing things you could do, but if you just start with those and do free, and you can do Craigslist, Craigslist less quality customers, and there's more scammers. I would do everything at this point. That's what I do for marketing. Don't be running Facebook ads that are, spending $100 on clicks and things when you don't even know if it's going to work.
Josh, what a refreshing perspective on marketing. I got to be honest with you, man. It's so lo-fi. It works through trust circles. It makes sense. Oh my gosh. I love that. Close us out with kind of the final step, which is taking action. Give us the importance. Why do you think it's so important to list it on this graphic here? Tell us that.
Yep, absolutely. So again, there are so many people who 80% of people say, I am going to write a book one day. Well, we obviously know there's 330 million people in the US. There is not, 300 million people writing, like there's not that many new books published every year. It's not. So people don't take action. I'll give you an example. I was shoeing horses I had limiting beliefs. I believed, crap. And just give a little background. So I want people that are in bad spots to not think, oh, he's lucky. Oh, he's just gifted. No, you can do this. I didn't go to college of any kind. My parents were mortified that I did not go to college. Okay. So I had the limiting belief that if I didn't go to college, I was kind of screwed for life. And I picked horseshoeing. Nobody does that, Josh. So you're really stupid. So what I realized was, though, I had no transferable skills. I'm like, how am I going to get to the new century? But when I would talk to people that I was trying to learn coding, they would try to figure out what I was doing currently at meetup groups, tech meetup groups. All these people are cool, right? They're drinking their espresso. They're hip people. They got stickers on their computers. They got iPhones and they're hip. And eventually I'd kind of have to whisper, like, I shoe horses. I horseshoe. And they're like, what? That is so cool. I don't know anyone else who does that. And it became my like strength. But here's the thing, to get to that meetup group, to have that conversation, I listened to podcasts as an outsider, just listening to all this information. Oh, here's Julian's podcast. Oh, wow, there's that dude who does weird stuff. I should do that. Oh, here's this other guy. And I listened to all these podcasts as I would drive from barn to barn, farm to farm. I would listen to podcasts. I'm like, I'm educating myself. I'm learning more. I love it. But I took zero action. And the first action I took was when I got extremely desperate in 2008, 2009. And it was like kind of what's happening right now. It was the fire that pushed me to say, oh crap, I need to do something and I need to do it now. From taking action, I did make some money and I did snow shoveling. Then I did dog sitting, horse sitting, all these different things that just moved into more money. So I now believe, and I've switched from being someone who didn't take action to somebody who takes incredible action. And I'll give you an example. My father is very risk adverse. If he's going to do something, let's take we go to the gun range. We're going to shoot a target. He'll point his gun down range. He'll look it over a couple of times, make sure it's loaded, slowly cock it, aim, sight, fire his gun, right? If I go, I'm like, boom, 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 boom. I'm out of bullets. Like I take action. It's like, to me, taking action will solve almost any problem. If your marketing sucks, okay. So for example, getting on this podcast, I didn't know how to reach out to people because I'm like, well, Julian's a legit guy. He's famous. He's got a huge following. The dude's done a lot of stuff. Here I am. I'm like a blacksmith dude. Okay. I've learned how to code, but I'm really not that good at coding. I'm kind of like, it's a limiting beliefs that you're like, oh, I'm an imposter. Well, this imposter, and it's not to brag, again, you can do the same thing. I made 126,000 last year. Well, I'm going to make more this year. So you can make it happen. And a lot of that was from side hustles. So when I reached out to people, I didn't get a lot of responses for my first podcast when I reached out because it sucked. We're looking at them now, I'm like, wow, those are terrible. Thankfully, people gave good feedback. Julian gave good feedback. And my approach has gotten good to the point I reached out to another podcast recently, and his response was, oh my gosh, bleep, 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 bleep. This is the best reach out ever. And not that maybe it is or not, but the point is, I know I'm getting closer to being good at reaching out and adding value because people are giving me good feedback. Nothing, though, will happen to take action. And generally, when you take action, you're going to fall flat on your face, the first thing. So I literally almost expect now, like I go do a fountain at a new client. Everything looks like it's simple. I tell my wife, yeah, this is easy. I'll be home in no time. But in my mind, I say, you know what? I'm going to get there and there's going to be like a snake inside that fountain, or who knows what's going to happen. Something bad will happen. And it's not being negative. It's saying I'm turning on my mental strength and saying, whatever happens, I'm getting through this. And then it might just go fine. So, but you have to believe this. And if you don't believe this, like, if you do nothing, nothing will happen. Nothing will change. Your years will just you'll do the same thing year after year. So hopefully right now, I view this tragedy, what's happening right now, as a positive, meaning I've learned a couple things that I thought, 08 happened, 09 happened. I'm going to be ready for the next recession. I told my wife in 2009, I said, next recession, I'm going to freaking crush it because I'm never going to be in this situation again. Well, I have a ton of side hustles. I have 5 that I work really hard on right now. 4 of them got knocked out. I have 1 left and it's still doing really well, thankfully. But I told myself, you know what? I can do better. Next recession, because there will be another recession, but it's 10 years. I'm going to do much better. And I've done some things I'm going to change in my life, but none of it will change if you don't take action. So again, this is the biggest point. No matter if you goof up all the other steps, you don't find a perfect opportunity. Maybe you spend a little too much money. Okay, fine. You only use Craigslist as marketing. Fine. But if you don't take the final step, you're just that half-written book sitting on someone's computer. And that's a shame, because you could really help people and you could help yourself, and you could discover maybe something you enjoy doing. I love installing fountains. I love drawing. I make money doing those things. So what's something inside you that you want to do?
I love it. I love it. I love it also, like how you have kind of this mindset of an expectation of failure. And I also interviewed Calvin Carter, who's the founder of Bottle Rocket, one of the best mobile development companies in the world. And he says, fail early, fail often, because you're
Right?
learning something. You just have to continue to take action and iterate and finally keep hitting that nail until something works, man. And you're tenacious. And honestly, your outreach approach inspired me so much that I wrote that post about it. A lot of people who follow me are on LinkedIn, and the way that you got my attention was actually drawing a caricature of me, and you did it for my fiance, and she absolutely loves it. And what's interesting about that? It gave her and myself an emotional reaction. And man, your marketing works, and I think you're highly creative. And I loved everything that we just discussed. So I want to walk through the steps really quickly here. And for those who are just listening right now, we will put a graphic of this into the show notes. Please download that, share that out. These are incredible steps to get your idea, start making money in the form of a side hustle. So the first step is close it out for us, Josh. Walk us through the
Yeah,
steps real quick.
yeah,
Brief
yeah,
summary. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So here's the thing. And here's a blessing. You might think it's a curse. I
Mm-hmm.
read a book a long time ago, and it basically made the statement that said, hey, people with high IQs make a good living. People that are, like handicapped or very low IQs, yeah, they don't make a good living. They have a hard time. But really, the average people can make an incredible living. It's not like you meet someone who's the CEO of X and, oh, they all have 184 IQs. No, they all have 200 whatever IQs. It's not like that. Being average is totally fine. And I grew up sucking at math. And I believed, because my younger brother was incredible at math, that somehow I'm just not smart. Let's say I'm not smart. Okay, fine. Just make it simple. Like, you don't have to be a genius to do this. Find some opportunity. Doesn't have to be gutter cleaning. One thing that's great is you see people have bricks on their houses. Well, brick porches, bricks everywhere. The mortar on those things start to go out over time. So is there any older looking homes in high income areas that you can just drive by and go, wow, that needs some new mortar? Well, you can get crack seal, or you can get things to fix that. You can watch some YouTube videos, and boom, now you have an opportunity. Don't just think, okay, if I'm mowing grass and that's it. No, there's other things you can do. Just stand away and look and like, what can I do? Find some opportunity. Doesn't have to be my opportunity. If you're tight on money, please don't risk whatever you have. I'm all for risk, but I think sometimes entrepreneurs get the idea, they get looked at as they're just crazy risk takers, and you got to be willing to go, eat out of this, freaking homeless shelter to do this. Like, yes, there's lots of famous, entrepreneurs that did go bankrupt. I get that. But what we're doing is keep your job, start something on the side, but don't risk your kids' birthday gifts. Don't risk things, or don't do that. And then you might have a great idea. You might have this great book you've written and it's going to work. You have a great audience, but then you don't go out there and actually get that first client. Because when you get the first client, like when I bought my first things for my water fountain business, in hindsight, I should have bought a different dolly. The one I bought worked, and I kept it for 3 years. But then I upgraded, and I was like, oh, now I get better stuff. But starting off, get that first job, because when you get that first job, it's going to tell you so much that you didn't know. Like piano tuning. My first job, I realized, oh my gosh, when you tune a piano and you lift open the lid of that piano and you look down in it, your arm goes in there. Well, it's freaking dark in there. I need a headlamp. So no one ever told me that. But when you get there, you can hardly see what you're doing. So if you don't try it out, that first dollar, you're going to learn so much from that. And then if it works, those first 3 steps work. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but is it enough to make you money where there's less stress on you financially? You can sleep at night. Okay, do some free marketing. Don't go online and go, let me hire a marketer. Joe Polish, who I love, because he started from humble beginnings, a cocaine addict who now does Genius Network, which is, I'm not part of it. I can't afford it, but his free stuff's great. He said he's never seen anyone who had a very successful business who wasn't involved in the marketing or knew exactly what was happening. They don't just send it out to someone randomly and go, can you get me clients? They need to know like who we're targeting, what we're doing. In our case, we're doing simple. We're doing zip code lookup. We're doing, hey, this is a high income area. And you don't have to do that, but that's my like looking for your area. But get things that are free. You can get enough work just doing it. And again, if you do anything, whether it's this, writing your book, whether it's spending more time with your kids, I don't care, whatever it is, you have to take action or it's all just going to be nice thoughts and that changes nothing.
I love it. I love it. Josh, this was amazing. And for all of our viewers and listeners, Josh actually does online courses that teaches you how to side hustle, to take your idea and turn it into cash, doing it part-time, practicing the art of entrepreneurship and side hustling. So Josh, this has been amazing. Tell us all how to connect with you, follow you, check out your courses. Tell us all this.
Yeah, Julian, thanks, man. So yeah, and here's the thing, guys. I say, don't spend money. My courses are cheap, but again, you don't have to do it. I went to YouTube and I watched every freaking video to figure something out. I'm not stupid enough to tell people you have to. Buy my course is a compliment to me. It's not a necessity. Here's what I want to give you. I want to give you a free resource, okay? joshkemp.net. That's my site. Go to joshkemp.net/Julian, okay? I'm going to have a free download. There's no cost. There's no trickery or anything like that, okay? I don't need to make money from my website. I like helping people and I like encouraging people to do better with their life, to help their families, okay? Here's the thing. People accuse me all the time of like, oh, you're just lucky, or oh, you're so driven, or oh, you're so focused. So you know what I did? I made 9 simple, and I mean simple, you heard my talk, 9 simple things you can do right now, doesn't cost anything, that will strengthen your willpower and improve your focus. Because the thing is, I have a laser focus when I do something. And I'll give you one so you can go look at the other 9. You don't have to do all 9. For example, I have not eaten today, okay? Now, I probably should lose a little weight, but that's not the real reason I haven't eaten today. And I'm not telling, if you have a health problem, okay, don't do it. But when I want to get something done, say I'm behind in work, say people have given me 10x the amount of work because someone got sick, whatever the thing is, I don't eat breakfast. And what normally happens is you start to get a little cranky. You start to get a little like, I want to eat. You think about food. And I think that's awesome. It's just like this whole virus thing. You can use it for bad or good. I take that upsetness, that whatever it is, that frustration, and I throw it into what I'm doing. And I say, you know what? I'm not eating till I get done this project or whatever it is. Don't get an eating disorder, but by denying yourself of something all through religious history, all throughout time, if people want an answer, you don't have to be religious, but like the idea is deny yourself something and you get enlightenment, or I think it's just more blood flow to the brain, whatever it is, you get laser focused. And that's simple. Now, simple means clear and concise. It doesn't mean easy. So give up something. And intermittent fasting is a simple way to do it. Just skip one meal. You don't have to go crazy, but there's 9 things you can do. All of them will help you. It's free. joshkemp.net/Julian. And I hope that helps you a lot. And if you like this, maybe you like my YouTube channel or videos. I show things I'm doing right now, trying to make money, and hopefully it'll help you as well.
I love it. Josh, this has been absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for reaching out to me. Thank you for being on the podcast, sharing your thought leadership about side hustling. We'll make sure to have all your contact information, links to your courses in the show notes. This has been awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Julian, thank you so much, man. It's been awesome.
And everyone else, thank you all for tuning in to another episode of the Pathways to Success. As always, make sure to subscribe, comment, and share. And we'll see you next time on the next episode of the Pathways to Success.